Good afternoon, everyone. 4 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. It is indeed a Friday edition of Middays with Q. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. We've got 2 hours to play with. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up, powered by our good friends over at Triax57. And on Fridays, we like to call it a What the Freak Friday edition of Middays with Q. We've got a busy show. And again, this is absolutely the beauty of the world of sport, right? It's the beauty of sports because what we're seeing right now in the NBA finals, which we'll get into in a moment, what we're seeing in the Stanley Cup finals, which we are going to get into in a moment, just the landscape of sports, right? That high drama, the theater, the theatrics, we're seeing it. And these two series, forget about the ratings for a moment. You've got a situation in the NBA finals where a team that dominated the regular season in OKC, that won 68 games against a lesser opponent in the NBA Finals in the Indiana Pacers that barely scraped by to get to 50 wins, now lead this series 2-1. And if Indiana wins tonight and take a commanding 3-1 lead, they might close out the series on Monday. So you talk about one potential epic choke job collapse, unlikeliest of runs in the NBA Finals. We're seeing it, a tale of two teams. Then you go to last night. And, we always talk about high drama, high drama, high drama. Do we not? Because that's what we love. We love the fact that, you know, just unlikely scenarios in the world of sports. And you get to sit back sometimes and you almost get to kind of marvel at what you're watching. And the beauty of what transpired last night is, this is what makes the NHL and the Stanley Cup Finals special because it is high drama. The old adage, there's never a lead that is safe, right? I mean, we've talked about it for so long, right? I mean, you ask anyone that played hockey, follows hockey, it doesn't matter. They'll always tell you that the most dangerous lead in all of sports is 3 goals in the NHL. And what transpired last night is, without a doubt, two sides of this. It is one of the most epic choke job collapses we've ever seen in a Stanley Cup Finals game, courtesy of the Florida Panthers. And then on the other side, you have a one for the ages comeback in the Edmonton Oilers. Listen, the fact that the Panthers, have dominated at times during this finals makes this absolutely much more appalling and hard to swallow last night. You have a 3-goal first period lead, right? You blow a 3-goal first period lead, and then you fall behind late, and then you got to tie it up to force overtime, and then you eventually lose 5-4 in Game 4 against Edmonton. And now the series shifting back to Edmonton Saturday night in a critical Game 5. But you talk about tight games. Both teams last night skating hard, right? Trying to take advantage of the power play. You're watching one team in the Oilers that are pulling their goalie, and people were questioning that. So you've got the Panthers jumping out to this 3-0 lead in the first period. You give up 3 unanswered goals in the second. That's absurd, and you wouldn't lead the rest of the night. It was almost like a mirror of that first period. The Panthers came out, they took advantage of multiple power plays in the first period, and they were able to find the net, right? They were able to score goals. It's just, you can't, once you get that first goal, that's the thing. That's the thing. If you're an Oilers fan and you're watching this game last night, and you're saying to yourself, all we need to do is just get that first goal. That's it. Get that first goal, maybe put a little pressure, plenty of time, a lot of hockey to be played. We get that first one, all right, 3-1. Now all of a sudden, you got a little juice as you're skating. You have a little more confidence, right? But then they turn around, they get another one in a second. They get another one in a second. Now all bets are off. You got a knotted up game after 2, and then the Oilers take the lead with about 5 to go, and then Florida gets bailed out late, scoring with under 30 seconds to go to force the OT. I mean, it's just last night was the reason you watch the Stanley Cup Finals, the reason you watch NHL playoffs. It's just the high drama, the high drama. And I know, there's two schools of thoughts here, right? There's two schools of thoughts. Edmonton can't keep up with Florida. They just can't. They can't. But again, you got a player like Leon Draisaitl who scored again in OT. We know the Oilers have players. We know the Oilers have skaters. We know the Oilers obviously have goal scorers, i.e. Connor McDavid, right? Draisaitl. I mean, he's been fantastic. Fantastic. Those two 1-2 punch. But I don't know if they can just sustain the onslaught, the flurry, the attacks of the Florida Panthers, right? I just think the Panthers are a faster team on ice. And what's really amazing is that you have no business losing that game. You have no business losing that game if you are the Florida Panthers. You just don't. That's an epic collapse and a choke job. And give Edmonton credit. I posted this on X. Is that more or less, is that just a massive choke job by the Panthers, an epic choke job? Or is it a great Oilers comeback? And, I mean, listen, you score 3 goals early on and there's a lot of hockey to go and a team comes back and they score a couple in, the next period and you knot it up. I don't know how much of a collapse that is. I think that's just hockey, right? I mean, we're not talking about a 3-goal lead heading into the third. It was a 3-goal lead heading into the second. You got 2 periods to play with. And you just saw again, right, where it just took that 1 goal. And the first leak, right, the first leak sprang 3 minutes into the second. Panthers are up 3-0. They got a 5-on-4 Oilers power play, and then boom, Hopkins kind of broke through and snuck the puck past Bob, Sergei Bobrovsky, and there you go. And then they struck again a couple minutes later, and that was a bad job by Bobrovsky. It really was. It really was. I mean, you rarely see him, not be in the right place, and when Nurse scored from the right side of the ice, that cuts it to 3-2, and then minutes later, they even it up. I mean, and now you've got the comeback is complete. Now you put all that pressure on Florida. Now they're tightening up a little bit. They're not skating as loosely, as freely as they were. They're not going to take some chances. So last night, that's the high drama of the Stanley Cup Finals. And it's almost like the equivalent of what we're seeing in these NBA playoffs when you're down 20-something odd points, which, again, basketball is all about runs. But I think the difference is Stanley Cup playoffs, you're getting overtime games. You're getting thrillers. You're getting white knucklers, as I like to say, right? Everyone loves the white knucklers, period. They love them. They love them. They love them. NBA Finals, different animal. NBA Finals right now, you're looking at a team in Indiana that is taking OKC's best punch. And OKC's been favored in all these games. Hell, they're favored by 6.5 tonight. I don't think that means anything. Right? I don't think that means anything. So again, if you look at both series and you're trying to measure, you're trying to quantify both series, you've got high drama, you've got blown leads, you've got comebacks, you've got, teams taking each other's best punch. But for my money right now, the NHL Stanley Cup Finals, Florida and Edmonton rematch of last year, it's got all the drama and the theatrics. And that's what you want, and the intensity, because you're watching it, and I'm not even a fan of these teams. I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm a Rangers fan, but almost every play, power play, pucks are hitting the crossbar, goalies are sprawling out. I mean, just going all over the place. I mean, that one sequence where it was like a scrum, a free-for-all, you're just, flailing about near the net. And I'm telling you, it's great drama. And last night was no different. And last night, if you're a Florida Panthers fan, you got to be saying to yourself, how the hell did they lose that game? At any level, any level, when you lose a game like that, especially in series, NBA, baseball, and the NHL, because obviously football one and done in the playoffs. But when you lose a game like that, it's like a gut punch. That is the equivalent of the Knicks losing game one in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Indiana Pacers. Yeah. Yep. That is the equivalent. And, we knew, and I said it, no chance in hell the Knicks were going to recover. You win a gamer here, but you weren't going to recover. I don't know. Does Florida recover? I mean, how do you put this loss behind you? How do you put this loss behind you? And then Edmonton, they made the right moves. Why? Because they pulled their goalie, and people were questioning it, but it was the right choice. Now the question is, do you go back? And that's, again, the beauty of the Stanley Cup Finals. That's the beauty of the NHL playoffs. And they're not going to name a starter for Game 5. I mean, this kid Skinner got yanked again after 3 goals in the first, right? I mean, it's like, wow. You got a dominant first period, and then, hey, we got to make a change, man. We got to make a change. And that might have just saved the season for the Oilers. It really, think about it. It's almost like, remember years ago, the famed timeout, if you're a Flyers fan, right? The famous, the timeout. You're down 3-0 to the Boston Bruins, and Peter Laviolette calls that timeout, and then they come storming back. 3 unanswered. They win it 4-3. They Orange and Black called it the timeout. Like, it just, obviously we know what transpired the rest of the series and that year for the Flyers. But point being is, it was a move that had to be done, and now it's a question of, what are you going to do? You're going to go back to the kids. So high drama in the NHL Finals. And, I know a lot of guys, and I'm getting some of the comments right now coming in as well on X and on Facebook. For my money, I think right now, ratings-wise, they should be dwarfing the NBA Finals. Absolutely killing the NBA Finals. Man chimes in on What the Frick Friday. He'll fire things off. Where's the rat that called me out for rooting for McJesus? I don't know. We have to. Bunker Boy's coming in with a football. Exactly. Bunker Boy's coming in at 4:13. You want to talk football? I'm opening with the NHL Stanley Cup friggin' Finals here, man. What the frig? I'm opening with the Stanley Cup Finals. An epic comeback by the Oilers. A massive choke job by the Panthers. Game 4. And you want me to talk about Scary Terry? I mean, what are we doing here? We do it in the 5 o'clock hour. Thank you. Madman knows. Read the friggin' room. That's exactly what that is. Read the room. That I would check for you as far as the NBA Finals. Michael chimes in. Playoff hockey is as good as it gets. It is. It is. Oh, by the way, John Bueller is going to join me from Fansided at 5 o'clock. So we'll talk some MLB, some NFC South with him as well. Agree. Yeah, it's always been their defense and the goaltending, and they're horrible killing off the power play. Horrible killing off the power play. And you're right, you can't win. You can't win in hockey if you don't have a good defense, if you can't shut down the power play, and your goalie is very inconsistent. And that's the problem with this kid Skinner. I mean, that's the problem. Like, you can't trust him. And who's to say, Florida knows if we just pepper this guy with shots, he's going to let in soft goals. And they're going to have a leg up again. They're going to have the upper hand. They're going to have an opportunity on the road to maybe take that early lead again. But this series now, come on, man. 3-1, it's a hell of a lot different than 2-2. And that's where we're at right now. Now, I don't know how it's going to play out tonight in the NBA Finals, but if OKC loses, that series is done. And to me, we talk about choke jobs and failures. Do we look at OKC as a team that just could not, just close the deal? You win 68 games in the regular season. You run roughshod through the NBA regular season. You got a franchise player. You got the MVP of the league. And you just can't get the job done against an inferior Indiana team. I mean, come on. You just can't get the job done. So I don't know what would be the bigger shocker, right? Edmonton coming back and winning this series, or the Indiana Pacers beating OKC in say 5 series in 5 games. I mean, look, this is why you play the game, as they say. This is why you play the game. Kevin C chimes in. Q, you're right. High drama, high theatrics, but I'm going to give the Oilers credit for a comeback. As you mentioned, the hardest lead to sustain in hockey is 3 goals. That's what everyone says, right? I don't know if that's a old wives' tale. People talk about that a lot, right? You know, it's a tough. I mean, I text my buddy that last night. It's a tough lead to hold. You're talking about an Edmonton team. Now think about this for a moment. Think about this for a moment. They had a meltdown in game 3. And I've been riding in Florida this whole series. And I told you, I still took the Panthers, to win the series. But the Oilers had a meltdown. That game 3, they lost 6-1. I mean, lack of defense, lack of discipline, as Michael mentioned. 86 penalty minutes in that loss. They couldn't. They had a hard time with the penalty kill, and the Panthers just were able, multiple power play shorthanded goals at times and power play goals to score. And then you rebound in game 4. You're down 3-0, and you win 5-4 in overtime, and now you knock the series up at 2-2. So you get blown out in game 3. You could have got blown out last night. You're down 3-1 in the series, but now it's a clean slate. It's a clean slate. Come back in game 4, largest in Stanley Cup Finals history, becoming the first team to win after trailing 3-0 in the first period. And maybe, that helped them. As crazy as it sounds, maybe being down 3-0 early helped him, as opposed to being down, say, I don't know, 3-0 heading into the second or the third. Yeah, 68 wins to botch in the finals is a huge choke job. Yeah, possibly. I mean, and to add to that, you have a MVP player. You have an MVP player, right, in SGA. Skinner had the yips last year. Yeah, that's true. I gave up on you yesterday because of the Death Star was having technical issues. But see, that's the difference. That's the difference between, guys like Kevin and Joe and Vince and, Madman and Michael, the corporation, right? These, Sarge, First Lady chiming in, Joe D, Tom and Summers Point. They're staying with the show even when I have technical difficulties. I mean, hell, Joe Vaughn commented and we can't hear you. Q Madman was all over that because that's loyalty. Again, it goes to my point, de facto. It goes to my point. There are those that run towards the fire when I'm needed, right? Or I need you. You guys are helping me. You're running towards the fire. And then there are others that they run away. So we have about 7, 8, 9 minutes yesterday of audio issues, and you decide I'm just going to bail out on the show? I mean, you don't even try to come back? What do we do with that? And then you have the audacity. You have the audacity the other day to ask for merch. I mean, is that what we're doing right now? You bail out because of the Death Star mic having issues, and then you want merch? No. Question of the day from our good friends at Play It Again Sports. Credit to the Oilers for comeback, or more about the Panthers choking in game 4? Tom and Summers Point chimes in. Q, first of all, I didn't know you had merch. Second of all, I would never bail on you after 5 minutes of bad audio issues. There you go. That's what we're looking for. Like that's called reading the room. That's reading the room, period. That is reading the room. Michael chimes in. Edmonton is never out of it with how much firepower they have. I think you start the card and roll the dice. I don't know but see the firepower, but Florida, I feel as though Florida is too stacked. That's the problem. I feel like Florida has, they're faster. They know how to kill off the power play. They can score shorthanded goals. And right now, I mean, think about it. Are we going to say their goalie's shaky I just think they couldn't weather the storm last night once Edmonton got that first goal. And then obviously what happened, Bob was out of place in that second one. And that's on him. That's on him because that's a veteran goalie. You should not make those mistakes. You shouldn't. Always run there. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Always running towards the fire with you. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, see, this is what I'm saying. See, you guys, now you guys get it, right? Never bail on a good show. Never bail on a good show. And we need, look at this. We need Joey B. I need Vince. I need Tom chiming in right now. And he'll probably enjoy the NFL talk and the baseball talk too later on as well. So we got a lot to get into. As I mentioned, keep it locked in. We got 2 hours to play with. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up on this What the Frig Friday edition of Middays with Q. By the way, there's a couple What the Frig instances going on. You know, and we'll talk about, by the way, in the NFL, we got to get a little delusional here, right? We got to get a little delusional here with Dak. We got to get a little delusional because Dak Prescott had some interesting comments to say, and I'll get to the Antonio Brown stuff. Still got some feedback and carryover from what transpired yesterday with Halliburton and Stephen A. Smith. You guys enjoyed that segment as well. But Dak Prescott came out and said he wants a Super Bowl title. Legacy be damned. I got news for you. What legacy does Dak have? Seriously. What legacy does Dak Prescott have? They're not winning a championship. They're not winning a Super Bowl. The team is absolutely done. They're dreadful. They are absolutely dreadful. They have no chance in hell to win 6-7 games. They don't. They're not going to compete with the Eagles in the NFC. So it's like, I feel as though Dak is almost kind of buying that time, right? Because he realizes his career is coming to an end. But we got a lot of NFL to get into. I want to get to a couple NBA thoughts. Sarge chimes in. Q, if you win 68, 69, 70 games in an NBA season, you damn well better win the NBA Finals. Epic collapse and choke job by OKC. I'm not going to call it a collapse. I'm not going to call it a collapse. And I'm going to give you my reasoning behind that. You know, we're talking, last night was a collapse. Last night was a choke job. And we've seen it in sports. You know, you're giving up 6-7 runs in the 8th or 9th. You're losing in extras. You can't hold a 3-0 lead. You're up 23 points in an NFL game and a team comes back. Like, those are collapses and choke jobs. And you have to differentiate the two. You have to. Because you can have a team totally implode at the worst moment. You can have a team basically choke. You can have a team that just gets sucked into the whirlwinds and they don't know how to get out of it. And everything, every little play, ground ball, little E, you know, you can't get that double play. You walk the leadoff batter. I mean, the guy makes a great play in the outfield. He comes up the next inning, first at bat. What happens? You walk him. Again, that almost the cause and effect. We've seen it in baseball and the floodgates get opened up. Now you turn around and you're seeing it in the NHL. NBA is a different animal. We know the NBA, 15, 20 points, you can erase that deficit. We've seen it. We saw Indiana do it. We saw the Knicks do it twice against the Boston Celtics, game 1 and 2, respectively. And we saw Indiana actually do it again in game 1, and that set the tone for the NBA Finals because OKC had no business losing that game. No business losing that game, but they did. And then, the idea is, okay, you stub your toe. You stub your toe, you're going to come back and you're going to, retake the momentum, get back the momentum of the series. They have yet to do that. They have not been able to do that. And this is a major problem and a point of emphasis. It really is. Because that game 1 that they lost 111 to 110 when Halliburton hits the shot late, you're down 14 points if you're Indiana. You're OKC at home, 68 wins, at home, game 1, NBA Finals with an MVP, who, oh, by the way, scored 38. You close that game out. You do not give Indiana any type of life. So what do? You lose the game, you come back, you beat them by 16, and everyone thinks, okay, all is right in OKC land. But then you follow that up, and you have a no-show in game 3. Like, you're allowing Indiana to hang around in this series. If you win game one, you trounce them in game two, chances are you're probably going to sweep them. You're probably going to beat them in 5 games, the gentleman's sweep. Now you've got an issue on your hands because Indiana, honestly, to a man, they believe they can go out and win this series. And if they win this series, I think it would be one of the most improbable, unlikeliest types of runs that we have ever seen in sports. And it pains me to say that. It pains me to say that because you guys know I can't stand the Pacers. I can't stand the Indiana Pacers because they beat the Knicks, and they've always been a rival to the Knicks, even back in the day. And if you're OKC, you better figure it out fast because this will be a colossal failure. If you're a Thunder fan, this is unacceptable. And I don't want to hear that Indiana is better than OKC. They're not. I don't know what the issue is. Is it bad matchups? Are you relying too much on one player? The lapses on defense, are they taking Indiana lightly? I don't believe you are. I don't believe they are. How do you do that in an NBA Finals? How do you go into an NBA Finals and you're dismissive of the team you're playing? You want to feel that Indiana's an inferior opponent. That's fine. That's fine. But you also have to go out and, again, you got to fix your problems. You got to fix your problems. You can't rely on one player. You can't. The other day, they had no answers for the bench. None. They had no answers for Indiana's bench. That is a major problem. This is a critical game 4. So we're talking about legacies. We're talking about career-defining opportunities. And you've got it with SGA. You've got it. And so far, this finals has been dictated by the benches respectively. It's just where we're at. If you break down the numbers, teams that lead an NBA Finals 2-1, as the Pacers do already against the Thunder, they've earned themselves a really big advantage. Even if forget about from a betting standpoint, they go on to win nearly 80% of the time. That's 50-13 in Finals history. So if they take game 4, they're closing this sucker out. I mean, that success rate is 97%, 37-1. And right now, on the other hand, the team that squares up the series at 2-2, which is what OKC has to do tonight, then all of a sudden, okay, now you've got wiggle room because game 5 obviously is the game that's going to decide it. I mean, think about it, because the winner of that one subsequently turns around, they win the championship 3/4 of the time, 23-8, 31 finals. So it's right there. But it just, I can't for the life of me figure out why in the world OKC in the 4th quarter, their perimeter defense laps, their guards disappear, and then they are not getting clutch play. They're not getting clutch play from the players they need to get clutch play from. And that is a major problem. It is. It's a major problem. And Indiana is young to the point where they're naive. Yes, they have a mix of vets with Siakam and Turner and McConnell. They've got a nice mix of young players and vets. And the vets are kind of pulling them, the young players aside, and hey, you haven't won anything yet. But some of these young players are naive enough to realize they can play a little more loose. And it's just crazy. Thunder were 16-8 on nights when the score was in 5 points with 5 minutes or less to play. That's not bad, except when we talk about clutch games. And in the playoffs, clutch games, if you define it by, hey, within 5 to 6 points, they're 5-4. In close ones, 8-2 otherwise. And the Pacers have been unbelievable in the postseason when it comes to clutch play. 9-1, 24-14 during the season because Halliburton's been that guy. Siakam's been that guy. And if you're the Thunder, you've got to answer tonight. You've got to answer big time. You have to turn around and, again, just figure out a way to win. The Oilers were able to win that game in OT. That tying goal was debilitating. Yes, it was. It was. I mean, listen, anytime you've got a 3-goal lead and you cough it up or you give up that first goal. I mean, you guys know this. You played sports. Everyone's got a little more juice. They've got a little more, life to them. You start looking around, guys are skating a little faster. Maybe the opposition, the opposing goalie's tightening up a little bit. That's why you just, you hear him say, just shoot the puck. Pepper in it, pepper in it, pepper in it. Some good things are going to happen. And then we saw that. And then we saw late. Florida, credit Florida, they did get the late goal to knot it up with under 30 seconds to go. But you almost felt, man, game's going to go in overtime. Edmonton has all the momentum. They've got all the momentum. And once you have it, that's dangerous, man. And who knows what they're going to do with the goalie situation. I mean, you start that kid again and they fall behind 3-0. Florida's not giving up that. They're not giving up that lead in Game 5. They're not. And if they do, they don't deserve to win the series, period. They just don't. Matty G and Claymont chimes in. Q, I'm not going to call it a collapse by the Thunder just yet, but you're right. It would be one of the most disappointing NBA regular seasons for a team to no-show in a finals. It would. It would. Because all I heard was, well, they're going to blow out the Knicks and the Pacers. That's all I heard. It doesn't matter who plays OKC, whether it's Boston. Granted, Tatum goes down and the Knicks win the series, but you know what I'm saying. The Western Conference compared to the Eastern Conference in the NBA, you kind of pick your poison, right? Eastern Conference, Cleveland, Boston, the Knicks, the Pacers, there you go, even the Bucks with Giannis. But then in the Western Conference, I mean, they dominated that conference. At least Boston and Cleveland won 60-plus games. Indiana and the Knicks won 50-plus games. Western Conference, you had one team won 60 games. And then you had the Rockets, and they were You had the Lakers, come on. And then you had the Nuggets, who fired their head coach and GM with 3 games left in the regular season. Those teams won 50 games and 52 respectively. Denver and the Lakers 50, and the Rockets 52. OKC just ran roughshod through the playoffs. They literally ran roughshod. They were not tested. And I don't want to hear, well, what about that? No. They were better than Denver. They were better than Denver. And they went right through the Grizz and they ripped right through the Timberwolves. That's why they've been a favorite in every game in the NBA Finals, even going on the road. And you're down 2-1. You're down 2-1. I mean, if they can't stop the bench tonight, if we're coming on the air on Monday and we're talking about, well, Game 4, the bench went off again for Indiana, the series is going to be done. The series is going to be done. You got to get to the line. If your shot's not falling, you have to figure out a way to penetrate. You've got to figure out a way to get to the line. I can't look at an NBA box score or watch a game where I see 3 to 4 players score 25-plus points and you still lose the game. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And the other thing, Indiana, to their credit, they've done a really good job of not turning the basketball over. They really have. Turner had a couple bad ones. Halliburton's good for a couple turnovers here and there. But other than that, they had 6 or 7 turnovers the other night, and OKC had 17. They had 17, and the bench was the difference. And I think it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same case tonight. It really is. You're going to have that crowd into it. I think OKC is going to press. They're going to try to get SGA involved early and often. You know how they're going to call the game tonight, too. That's another thing. You talk about player props, how many times these guys are going to get to the line. This kid only went to the line 6 times. You think he's going to be able to get to the line just 6 times in Game 4? I bet you right now, SGA probably gets to the line 13, 14, 15 times tonight. Every time he puts the ball on the floor, he needs to go right to the rim. And he's going to try to get all these calls. And listen, Indiana's going to foul out Turner. If they got to go and rely to the bench, if other guys got to come in and they foul him out, if they use Toppin for some minutes and some blow, so be it. But there's no way you're going to turn around tomorrow and look at the box score, watch this game tonight, and, with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, SGA's only been to the line 6 or 7 times. It ain't happening. It's not. Like, this is your classic makeup, put it on the floor, here we go. Every time the kid gets touched, he's going to the free throw line. I mean, hell, Williams went to the line 11 times. So this is a must-win opportunity right now. Must. This may make Knicks fans even more upset to see how poorly OKC is handling Indiana. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Yeah. Yep. I mean, why don't you just turn around and, do you want to face me when you're twisting a knife in my gut? Or do you want to do it behind my back, man? Yeah, it does. It bothers me because the Knicks shouldn't have lost to the Pacers. The Knicks shouldn't have friggin' lost game one. They shouldn't have had choke job after choke job after choke job. Halliburton shooting all over the friggin' plays, not coming out perimeter defense. Don't get me started. Don't get me started with that. They don't even have a coach. I heard a theory. I didn't read it. I heard it. And I think it was Gilbert Arenas with All the Smoke, which is really entertaining, said the reason that the Knicks are getting blocked like this, they're going after coaches that they know can't take the job. Why? Because it's setting up for Rick Brunson to be named head coach. And I will say this at 4:36 on June 13th. How do I say this? I'm trying to think of the words. Well, let me clarify. So Gilbert Arenas suggested that the Knicks are intentionally offering coaching positions to coaches who are already employed because they're going to decline. And his strategy, that's what he believes the Knicks are justifying making Rick Brunson, who happens to be Jalen Brunson's father, head coach. Now, I can appreciate the theory. I can appreciate the conspiracy theory. I can appreciate the outside the box thinking. I got to tell you right now, if the Knicks hire Rick Brunson to be their head coach, I'm done. And by the way, test me, try me, because you already saw what I did with the Giants on Sundays. Test me. I will be done with this team. I will be done with this franchise. Right now, they have their heads up their ass. And right now, they're like the guy that's been, twice, thrice divorced. Nobody wants to date him, right? Or the girl that's, a couple failed managers. No one wants to date her. Like they got to clean up the rep. They're untouchable. No one wants to go near them right now. That's how my Knicks are. But to suggest that they're just wasting and dicking around like this, and they're just, hey, we're going to interview X, Y, and Z, or we're going to try to get, X, Y, and Z, and we know they're going to decline. If that's the case, then they are a joke of a franchise. A joke of a franchise. Now, again, I don't buy it. I don't subscribe to that theory, and I love a good conspiracy theory. I really do. But no way, man. No way. I will call it a day. I will call it a day with this franchise. Absolutely not. It's bad enough that some of the players in Brunson, we're not getting along. We're butting heads. It's a great theory. Not happening. KC, Jackson chimes in. Q, get the hell out of here. There's no way that's happening. Yeah, I don't believe it is, but right now, who's going to be the next head coach? I mean, who's going to be the next head coach, right? Mark it. Go ahead. Mark it. It's marked. Yes, it's marked. I can see Dolan doing that, though. It's marked. We marked it, and I know you still like to say mark the take, mark the tape de facto, clip it, mark it, record it, book it in, book it out, whatever. It's marked. Yeah, that would just be the dumbest move. Why? To keep Jalen Brunson happy? And Jalen Brunson got exposed, by the way, against the Indiana Pacers. As great as a scorer as he is, sometimes Jalen Brunson is a lazy ass on defense, and he turns the ball over. And when he doesn't get the call because he's trying to elbow everyone, like, trying to maneuver, trying to get the aisle seat on the plane or trying to get in a friggin' good seat in the movie theater, call doesn't go his way, he kind of wilts and he cries. Like, I don't need that kind of nonsense either. Great player, but I don't need that kind of nonsense. I don't. Not from a player that's supposed to be as great as he. Like, play both ends of the friggin' floor. Please. Please. My goodness. Tom chimes in. Newcastle. Q, you are about to lose your Knick fandom over a hiring. Poor shame. I didn't say that. I said if they hire Brunson. If they hire Brunson. That shows me that they are not a serious franchise. And I don't care that they fired Thibodeau. I don't care if it was a knee jerk reaction. Why they look foolish or how they look foolish right now is the fact that every time they're trying to interview someone, they get denied. They decline to take that interview, or these teams are saying, no, we're going to block you. Now they kind of have egg on their face and they got to figure out what the hell they're going to do. And right now they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan. There's no woosah on a What the Frig Friday. I'm already wound up. That's it. Already wound up. A little golf talk, huh? Maybe the golf might be in one of my Q-fectas. We will have to see later on today. I'm not going to woosah, man, because I'm just tired of this nonsense. Like I told you guys this the other day, the Yankees are going to get to the ALCS. They're going to do dick. We know that. Aaron Judge is going to have 60-plus home runs. The pitching is going to go south. The bats are going to go quiet. They're going to get, they'll lose in 6 to maybe the Tiger. So I'm going to be pissed. The Giants are going to have Russell Wilson out there, trying to marinate, sizzle, and saute for the first 6 or 7 games. And their offense is not even going to be able to score 17 points. So they're going to have another sucky season. So I'm going to be pissed. Now I got a Knicks team with no head coach. And I'm watching Indiana 2 wins away from winning an unprecedented NBA title, one that I'll probably never see in my lifetime. So yes, I am kind of annoyed. So when you tell me Woosa, all that does is get me actually more aggravated, because now I'm trying to figure out, where am I hanging my hat in the fall? What am I doing in September and October? Well, I think we kind of know. All right, quick time out for 41. John Bueller, fan sided at 5:05. We'll talk some baseball, also some NFL, and keep the comments coming. We got a lot on Facebook and X. You can get me at Rich Q on Q. Quick time out. We'll come back on the other side. All right, fast approaching 5 o'clock hour, 4:45. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock. I don't really have too many thoughts on the U.S. Open. I mean, I think anytime you got Scotty S in the field, right? What's he about? Plus 280. Rahm's what? Plus 1,200, right? Newman's plus 3,300. I kind of, it's funny with golf. I know the U.S. Open. Everyone, from a betting standpoint, it's a good opportunity. Like if you're looking at, so years ago it was always the field versus Tiger, right? Or Tiger versus the field. And now you got Scotty S, who's starting to kind of break into that rarefied air that Woods pretty much dominated for so long. I mean, Tiger Woods, if you go back and you look at, that first arc of his career, before everything happened, and all of a sudden the nonsense in the driveway in November, many moons ago with the wife, and everything came out, the infidelity, all that stuff went just sideways, just all went sideways. But Woods was always the betting favorite, and Scheffler is in that category now. It is. Now you've got 3 or 4, golfers that you would sit there and say, okay, they're trending up, and we like their chances to win this tournament. But if you look at every model, every trend, it pushed for one of only 4, and that's obviously Scotty S. Plus 275. DeChambeau is what? Plus 750. So I look from a long shot. From a long shot, if you're playing something, I haven't even checked, currently right now, but I know the kid Russell Henley is like plus 5,500, plus 6,000. He's missed cuts, and I think he's coming off 2 missed cuts, major championships, but he's got a couple of nice top 25, 26, 27 finishes. He's got 5 top 27 finishes in U.S. Open over his last 6 tries. So there's value there. Value. But again, I always, was Tiger. Yeah, there you go. Of course, it needs to toughen you some. Yep. And I look at, I like the U.S. Open. I was more, I do enjoy the Masters. That is a fun time to watch in April. But I think golf is kind of, I'm not going to say it's lost its luster, but you've got a couple of really good golfers out there. And I think it kind of takes the place of Tiger Woods, because you're looking at that next guy or guys or golfers to kind of take the place. And again, it's tough. You're right. I mean, you definitely, you open, a round over par. You struggle early. That's not a good thing. But again, I don't know. I think I saw. Maybe you guys can pull it up for me because I got so many windows open. I think there were only 4 players who had shorter odds. We're talking money line, right? As of what time is it? Well, this was at 3 or maybe 4 o'clock. I came on the air at 4. So I don't know if the betting favorites or the lines have changed. If that kind of answers that. U.S. men's national team getting destroyed last week. World Cup going to be a disappointment for USA. Yeah, it of course. Yep. It is. It is embarrassing if you think about it, that the men's team, they just can't figure it out. They just can't. I mean, you go and you watch their last couple matches, right? And then no-show against Switzerland. You no-show. That's embarrassing. Like, they've got issues. And everyone always talks about the marketability of soccer in the U.S. And I think you've got a substantial amount of young players, right? You've got some great players. But when was the last time, be fair now, be honest. First of all, this team right now is on a 4-game losing streak, and all of them are at home. They haven't done that since '88. That's not where you want to be. But when was the last time you're talking about, um, the United States men's soccer team, and they're going in a very wrong direction, but actually being a player, that credibility, that reputation, right? Because look at some of these tournaments where they no-show and they got bounced early and they've had issues, right? Lineup changes. I mean, you guys know all about it. But when was the last time you can really sit there and say they were legit? There was some great credibility. I mean, the women's team, you know what you're getting from them every time. Every time. Tiger was Hulk Hogan. Goff can't get to that level again, at least not in the short term. They can't. No. And even when Tiger was struggling, like when Tiger was struggling with the divorce, losing his father, the injuries, he was still a draw. Like, I would always debate this and argue this on the air because he wasn't, the injuries aside, mentally, everything was so taxing. Everything was so taxing for Tiger Woods. And even from the time, I mean, think about his career arc. His career arc and pushed by his father and then just bursting on the scene and winning tournaments. And okay, here you go, vying for the gold jacket. And are you going to beat Jack? And here we go. And, making the money, the endorsements deals, a fiery guy purposely, the Nike, the red, the black, the hat, right? I mean, that was Tiger, the endorsements out of the yin yang all over the place, the wealth. And then all the career achievements, right? 82 PGA Tour wins, just all over the place. If you go and you kind of look at the ebb and flow of his career, when he was on, he was on. But man, everything changed. When the stuff started to leak out with his personal life, and then again, losing his father, the personal life, changing people in his corner, changing people that he entrusted for years. When he had that scandal back in 2009, I'll never forget, I was on the air and they were talking about the car and coming back and, all the stuff in the driveway and just a debacle, man, a debacle. Like, he was never the same after that. He went through a bunch of relationships, and then he had the DUI arrest. He had the car crash, 4 or 5 years ago. You just knew. I mean, he went up, down, and then he was trying to come back up. And the days of Tiger versus the field are long gone. I don't think Goff, you're not going to replace Tiger, and no disrespect to Scotty S., who's a hell of a golfer, but you can have 3 or 4 really good rivalries out there and really good, great golfers. You're not replacing them, or 3 or 4 of them. You're not replacing Tiger Woods. You're not. It was a generational thing. It was a generation. You didn't have to be a golf fan, but when he was walking up the green on a Sunday afternoon and you're watching with your friends or your dad and you're like, that's Tiger Woods, you stopped. You watched. That was the allure. And a sport like golf, you always want the characters. You always want the characters. You want the showman. You want the charisma, right? You remember back in the day, my guy Chichi Rodriguez, right? Because he had that charisma, that charm. He wasn't nearly, God rest his soul, the golfer that Tiger was, but you gravitate towards, the guys with those personalities and the charm, and then they've got the following and the fans, and they're marketable, and you've got the endorsements. Tiger did all of that. He did all of that and then some. And then, as I mentioned, all the, quote, off the field nonsense, it just derailed his career, man. It absolutely derailed his career. Still a legend, a living legend. Father Time catches up to you. Father Time catches up to you. You can't beat the clock, as they say. All right, fast approaching 5 o'clock hour. John Bueller from Fansided on the other side. Let me get to a couple of these comments on X, Facebook as well. Shawnee chiming in Wilmington. Q, don't have a breakdown on a What the Frig Friday edition of Middays. Ha, 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 with your Knicks talk. I know it's got to absolutely be stinging you right now to see what Indiana's doing. It bothers me, but the Knicks didn't deserve to win that series. The Knicks lost that series in game one, period. Period. Bobby C. Chime in Claymont. Get a lot of my Delaware listeners, which I'm always grateful for. Q, why are you killing a commenter? Because he wants to talk a little Washington Commanders football. Oh, that was wide. In the 4 o'clock hour? That's bunker boys. They don't mind that kind of nonsense. But see, that's an Eagles fan concerned. See, that's another problem I have. That's an Eagles fan concerned about what's going on with Washington. Now, I know what you're going to say. Why am I concerned with what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys? I'm not. What I was just merely pointing out that Dak is delusional, talking about a legacy and winning a Super Bowl. It's never going to happen. The Dallas Cowboys are not going to be competitive. The Dallas Cowboys are not winning the NFCs. The Dallas Cowboys are not making the playoffs, and they're not winning a playoff game. They're just not. And they have a lot of issues. They really do. I don't know how you can be a Dallas Cowboys fan and objectively say, hey, I got a positive outlook here. Why? Because you have George Pickens? Seriously? And there's nothing. I like Dak. I don't think there's anything. Dak Prescott seems like a nice guy, likable guy, right? He's a pro's pro. Look where he came from. Look where he was drafted. He burst on the scene. He's dealt with some injuries. And I think people in Dallas look at Dak and they're over Dak. They're over Dak Prescott. It's like, okay, he had all the talent like Danny White, and Danny White had a better resume than Dak Prescott. I mean, at least Danny White was taking that team to the playoffs and NFC championship games. Dak hasn't done any of that. I mean, he really hasn't. He just hasn't. So it's like, okay, it's feast or famine right now. Like maybe you get a little turn back the clock type of season from Dak Prescott, but can you rely on Prescott to be upright for 17 weeks? No. Can you rely on Prescott to win games late in the fourth quarter, crunch time, clutch quarterback? You can't. Dak's only 31. He technically, he still has, I mean, it's crazy to think he's been in the league, what, almost 10 years? What's this going to be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is his 10th season in the NFL. And he's had a great career for a guy that was picked 135 in the 4th round back in 2016. And he's put up really nice numbers. And he had a great year in 2021. He has not been able, he bounced back in 2023, I'll be fair. But aside from that, he's had some down years and he's had some injuries. He's not the same quarterback. He's not. And it's all feast or famine. It's all feast or famine with the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. That's all I'm saying. That's it. We're going to be discussing how crazy the Madden curse works in late October. Wow. I was talking about, I know exactly what you're talking about negotiating, but why are you so worried about what Washington's doing? Let me go back to see what de facto says, because maybe I was a little hard on him on Friday. He told me to mark the tape right there. We got to go back. Oh, here we go. Nope. Jay-Z making millions. Gave up yesterday. There's a shot at the Death Star mic. Another shot at me. A little troll job there. Mini corporation takeover. Here we go. All right. Does McLaren's bargaining leverage go up since the Commanders? We talked about this yesterday. Was it Kid Brown went down? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. They're going to get a deal done. You're talking about Noah Brown? They're going to get a deal done. I mean, Gallup's banged up as well. They will get a deal done. It would behoove them both to have him out on the field because they know how important he is. Period. That offense runs around him and Daniels. You run the ball a little bit, sure, but they need him out there. Let me see. First Lady chimes in. Q, did you mention that Antonio Brown is being chased by the cops on attempted murder charge? Yeah, that might be a part of the What the Frig Friday. I did see that. Petey Boy. And Kate May chimes in. Q, why are your commenters trying to curse the Eagles? They're not. I don't think that was what Madman was insinuating. And I'm not going to speak for the commenters. I don't do that. The commenters hold their own in the chat. I don't even get involved with what they do. I don't. But I don't think he was trying to mush Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles. We don't do that on the show. We never we don't cheer or root for players to get injured. We just don't do that. That's not our brand. That's not our cup of tea. So just, I get it. Eagles fans chiming in. You guys are sensitive. You're probably still sensitive with Chris Sims's BS list, which I told you to forget about the list, but you guys are still sensitive. Jalen Hurts has to be number one. If he's not number one, guys don't know what he's talking about. Just calm down, will you? All right, 5 o'clock, quick timeout. 16 a book, 60 to play with. John Bueller from a fan side. A little baseball, a little NFL talk on the other side. All right, 5 o'clock, 1 hour in the books. We'll take you up to 6 right here on a Friday edition of Middays with Q, powered by Triax57. Fresh roasted coffee, 20% off, BYP20. Check out the show notes below on the YouTube channel. Good eyeballs today, good comments. Let's get back to them while we wait for John. I believe he's going to jump on at 5:05. We shall see. We would think, we would like to think that. Joey B chimes in. Odds that Q burns his Giants stuff when the Colts finish with more wins than the Giants. Ooh, minus 115. You got to juice that up, man. You got to juice that up, brother. I would say, I mean, is it possible that the Colts win more games than the Giants? Very likely. Apparently, Daniel Jones has just been slinging it all over the place. I'm going to say minus 150, by the way. Odds on what week Angel sends Q a Buccaneers jersey. I mean, I can't, I can't, I can't speak to that. I mean, if he, Angel wants to send a jersey to me, I'm not a jersey guy. Do you know that? I'm really not. I have two jerseys two. Well, I'm saying one, two jerseys I've had in my lifetime. Two. Phil Simms jersey, which everyone knows, the Rawlings jersey, which hangs like a friggin' shrine to like Jesus Christ. And then I have the Tiki jersey, and I never wore it. So you guys are sitting there telling me that, I'm burning jerseys. I'm not gonna do anything about that. Man chimes in, Fannie Mae. You're talking about John McMullen. By the way, Johnny McMullen's birthday was the other day. So I'm just kind of want you guys to know that. Um, so we gotta pay him a little homage. All right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull up John Bueller chiming in a second. Quick timeout. We'll reset it, and then we'll talk a little baseball, and we will talk a little NFC South with our guy from Fanside. Keep it locked in. We'll take you up to 6. All right, 5:05 on a Friday edition, Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. Our guy, John Beeler, does a great job fan side. He hosts too many podcasts to even name on the air, but he's kind enough to join us. Does a lot of stuff with the Braves and, of course, Georgia and the Atlanta Falcons. Great writer. Good to have him back on a Friday edition. My friend, how you been?
Doing pretty good, Rich. It's been a while, but I'm excited to be back.
Well, we're happy to have you back. We appreciate a couple moments. All right, let's get into it. We'll talk a little baseball to start things off. NL East right now, obviously, we see the type of run that the Mets are on. The Phillies, they've been a little hit or miss, very sporadic with the pitching and then the hitting and then the issues with their lineup. We'll get to your Braves in a moment, but are the Mets legit right now in the NL East? Do you believe they have staying power?
I think so. I think that they have a really good sense of who they are. They went on a deep postseason run a year ago. And I think what you mentioned before, like with the Phillies kind of being very hit or miss, they're taking advantage of the fact that the Braves are having a horrible season.
Yep.
Washington's not quite there. And then obviously Miami is Miami. So the Mets seem to just have the right pieces in place to potentially go on a run. Again, there's a lot of other really good teams there in the NL West. And then I think Chicago could be interesting as well in the East Central. But right now, yeah, I think New York's the team to beat in the NL East.
Yeah, listen, they've been on a tear too. I mean, it's the Mets when they get going, like they get going, and now you're watching them. They're not only doing it with their bats, but they're doing it with their pitch, and they're winning games 1-0, 2-1, 3-1. Right? Alonso's smashing home runs all over the place. I mean, the lineup is stacked. I think they won 6 straight, 12 of 15, 20 plus over 500. The Phillies, I don't know if the Phillies are going to figure it out. Like Luzardo, I had him pegged for a potential NL Cy Young candidate, and then he goes out and he has two horrible outings, and then he rebounds. So you got Sanchez, you got Suarez, you got Wheeler. I'm still concerned with their pitching, and I think they also need to get another bat in the outfield, which leads me into this. You look at the NL East, and we'll get to your Braves in a moment. Can you see the Phillies being buyers at the trade deadline?
I think they kind of have to. They got to kind of revamp this core a little bit. It's gotten a little stale. I mean, you would think right now with what they've had the last 3 or 4 years that they would have won a World Series by now. It just hasn't happened. So, you got to bring in like new faces at the deadline, whether that's, a bat, whether that's something for the pitching staff. You got to find a way to mix it up just a little bit because like I'm afraid that like if it doesn't happen this year, they might potentially miss their World Series window because these things are only open for so long. And running counter to what the Mets are, the Mets, they're right in the prime right now. It could happen this year. It might happen next year. We'll see how long it goes. It's probably closing for the Braves here, but we don't know how much longer the Dodgers is going to be open. Again, nobody has repeated as World Series champions since the Yankees three-peated 98 to 2000. So it's been a while. So the Phillies got to do something. I don't know what that is, but this team seems a little off.
Thinking of, speaking of a little off, Braves right now, fourth in the NL East, 29-38. They salvaged a series against the Brewers. I mean, had they been swept for a third consecutive series this week, I mean, do we start to say, okay, they're going to be sellers at the trade deadline, which, by the way, we haven't seen that since 2017, right? So I know they want another ring. I mean, think about some of their core right now, whether it's Acuna, Riley, Olson, Harris. They're all under contract through 2030. Do you believe the Braves are just in a spot right now where they're not going to be able to catch the Mets? They're not built long term. They have too many issues. And then second part of that question, if you do believe that, can you see them being sellers at the trade deadline?
Okay, so how do I unpack all of this? I'll say this. They paid the players that they didn't need to prematurely. It's costing them. It's the same issue that we're seeing with the Boston Red Sox right now. I think there's a managerial issue at both teams. I wrote something for fanside.com about basically looking at every team where they would stand in one-run games, and the Braves are horrible, and the Red Sox are just as bad. I think there's a team in like each league that's kind of like a loose parallel to them in the opposite league. So again, like my colleague Cody Williams is a Red Sox fan. We're kind of going through it in real time. But I guess to get back to your point, could they be sellers? Maybe, but it has to be like really dire straits at this point. Again, I think if you're selling, it's basically admitting defeat if you're Alex Anthopoulos. And if you do that, then like you're going to lose favor with Terry McGurk and the guys from Atlanta Braves Holdings, who are the ownership group here. And Anthopoulos has to own some of this. You let one dog after another leave in free agency, thinking that like you could rebuild a team like Daryl Morey. And how many NBA finals has Daryl Morey won? Zero. People like think that you can like put numbers together and think it's going to work like Moneyball. But man, this is locker rooms. This is a game based on failure. You got to have people in there who just find a way to win. And there's not many out there. And if you have them, don't let them go.
It's a really fascinating point you bring up, because in baseball, sometimes too, if your bats are hot, your offense is hot, or you ride the pitch and you can make a run in the postseason. Now, Braves are only 9 back in the wild card. I say only. I think they're teetering right now. And maybe as a Yankees fan, for selfish reasons, and you might chuckle on this, like what if they are, I don't know, 12 back, right, at the wild card, and the Mets continue to just kind of, or at least attempt to run away with the NL East, and the Braves are 20 back in a couple weeks, or in 5, 6, 7, whatever, in a week plus. I floated the idea that, would they consider trading Chris Sale?
Maybe that's the biggest name that could potentially be on the market. The one name that would probably go is Marcell Ozuna, because like he's in a contract year. The Braves aren't going to pay him what he probably deserves as a designated hitter. So if somebody needs a bat, that could be available. As far as Sale is concerned, I mean, he grew up in Lakeland, Florida. He grew up a fan of the Braves. He won the Triple Crown last year. He's well on his way towards, pushing towards Cooperstown. Maybe he wants to finish his career here. It'd have to be the absolute right situation, and the Braves would have to get like an absurd amount of prospects. And I might be in the minority here. Prospects typically don't do anything for me in baseball. Like, how do you perform at the major league level? But every team at any given time may have one that like really stands out. Like for the Braves, like Drake Baldwin, I knew he was going to be good. I didn't care about anybody else in the organization.
Well, what if it was like Philadelphia and they were throwing Justin Crawford out there?
I don't know. I wouldn't make a trade division at all. I mean, but if the Yankees came calling or something like that, I don't know how the farm system is there in New York, but like someone, you'd have to be looking for somebody like if the Red Sox, like, Roman Anthony for like Chris Sale or something like that. Like you'd have to be basically looking for like, you want a frontline starter, you want one of the best pitchers in the National League. You got to give us something substantial to move on from a guy you have under contract for this year and next, and maybe then some.
The top two, right? The Yanks have two of the top 10 in Spencer Jones and Brock Selvich, and that would probably have to be that package. Real quick before we hit the NFL, one of our commenters who happens to be a Phillies fan and an Eagles fan, buyers for Trout. I've had this conversation with Steve Garner from USA Today, Hall of Fame baseball writer, has a vote, and he said it's Trout pretty much made it clear he doesn't want to go anywhere. And, the Trout rule, right? 5 and 10. It's just a tough spot, man, because he is the face of the franchise, even when Ohtani was there, and his career, just the injuries just derailed his career. I just would love to see him play in the postseason.
I wish he wanted to. I wish he cared. I don't think he does. I think he just wants to be playing baseball at a high level for himself anonymously. So talented. I wish he had that dog in him. Being the guy from South Jersey and then a Philly guy, you would think like he'd have a little bit more of that oomph about him, and he never did. But that's the thing. Like, you can't force it on people. You can't force people to be stars. But like, I would say though, if the Angels were to make him available, and if like the Phillies were like that desperate, that would be like the one place you'd be like, okay, maybe we'll make a move here. But like, he's got a family, he's married and stuff like that. I don't think he necessarily wants to go across country, but like at some point, I mean, it's been over a decade since he's been in the playoffs, man.
It's crazy. And he's a Hall of Fame player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's, you're being robbed of those at bats and an opportunity to watch him in the postseason. And, for fans, selfish reasons, obviously, but you like to see him get a shot and a crack. John Bueller, lead writer at Fansided, host, Blog and Dirty Podcast, co-host, CFB Fall Start, college football, NFL, University of Georgia, Falcons, Braves. He's all over the place. Speaking of which, NFC South, let me put up the numbers for you right now. Win totals, Tampa 9.5, Atlanta 7.5. Panthers that I think are on the rise, 6.5, and then the Saints at 5.5. you look at the division right now, and you would almost argue, okay, Tampa by default because it's kind of a weak division. But let me get your thoughts on your Falcons. I still don't understand. You pay Kirk Cousins all that money and then you draft Penix. And to me, I mean, as listen, you covered the team, you know the team, you're a fan of the team. Did that move strike you as just bizarre?
It's the Falcons, man. This is what they do. They don't. They don't. They think that they know what they're doing, but they really don't. You are right, though. It's probably Tampa's division to lose, but like it's almost to the point where like they're begging for Atlanta or Carolina to take it from them. New Orleans is going to be awful. New Orleans
I
is probably
agree.
going to be the worst team in football, and they're going to probably draft Doug Nussmeier's kid Garrett #1 out of LSU. That's kind of what I'm thinking might happen for the Saints. But
Oh, you
like,
you think the Saints are going to be worse than my Giants?
um, I that's a possibility too. I mean, I read about this. Like, I think Dayball is in the hottest seat possible. I don't know how him or Shane came back at all. It doesn't make any sense. But like, even if the Giants have the first overall pick, like they're going to move back because you already have Jackson Dart, and you got to see what he can be. So like, I don't know. There's a handful of teams out there that are going to struggle, but like, I've really said like the Saints will struggle. I think the Giants, they have a chance to have a pretty good defense. We'll see what happens on offense.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a horrible season. I think the Saints are going to struggle as well. Um, you mentioned Tampa, and then you mentioned Atlanta. Like, sell me on the Falcons. I mean, can the Falcons get to 8 wins?
Yeah, I think that they potentially could. I think the big thing is it's a second year of the staff here. It's another year of Zach Robinson like running point with the offense. I think there's things that Penix can do from a skill set standpoint that Cousins couldn't do. I think that it's going to allow maybe more extended drives, take some pressure off the defense. I know they invested heavily in trying to get the edge rush going with Leonard Floyd in free agency, drafting Jalen Walker out of Georgia, trading up to get James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee, and maybe they will, but probably they won't. The schedules, like I think the middle part of it is like there's a place where like the Falcons can rattle off a lot of wins here. I mean, this division's probably only going to send one team to the playoffs, maybe two if like Atlanta or Tampa win like 10 and 11 games apiece. I don't see that. But there's a lot of pressure on Atlanta this year. If they don't make the playoffs, I don't know if Terry Fontenot gets a sixth year. It might be
Hmm.
in line for Raheem Morris. But I wouldn't necessarily agree with the latter part there, but there's a lot of pressure certainly coming from
I,
Flowery Branch.
I feel like they have some good players, but at times underutilized, or they just don't meet the expectations. Like, I mean, again, Kyle Pitts, I know he's banged up. He's got to be as frustrating. You had that great rookie season, and then it's just been downhill since.
Yeah, he's a player that like is only as good as his quarterback allows him to be. I think we overlooked that coming out of Florida. Kyle Trask was really good during that COVID season. You have Matt Ryan throwing the ball, Hall of Fame level player, and then you got to deal with a bunch of crap with Marcus Mariota, Taylor Heineke, Desmond Ritter. You get Cousins in there, it's a little bit better. He does seem to have a rapport a little bit with Penix. And if I were him, I would focus on building that rapport because that's how you get another contract with the team. Otherwise, you'll leave in free agency, you'll sign with the Eagles, and you'll be an all pro in 2 years because that's just how the NFL works.
I mean, it's clear that he is going to be the franchise quarterback, but they still have Cousins. Like, again, I'm trying to wrap my head around. Okay, what we're looking at some of these spots, like, and I thought, okay, maybe it would be a fit with him in Pittsburgh and not Aaron Rodgers. Again, you know better than I do. Like, I just don't understand the reasoning to draft this kid after paying Kirk Cousins. So you got a 36-year-old guy that's a veteran. He's been around the block. I mean, what's the end result here, like for Kirk Cousins in Atlanta?
The end result is I think they gave him a 4-year deal with the belief that he'd be the starter for 2 years. He lied about an injury down the stretch, played terrible. And then I think people were seeing in practice, Penix is really good. Penix is really talented. He could do things that Cousins can't do. So it was all kind of like a contingency plan. It's the same sort of thing we saw years ago with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. Like nobody likes to see their successor be drafted and be in the same organization with you. It's tough for everybody involved, but I think for the time being, Pittsburgh, I do not like the Rodgers fit at all. You got
Hate it.
you got the ultimate ad-libber going to play for Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin. Like, that thing is an absolute tire fire. There's no chance that team makes the playoffs.
No, no. And imagine if they would have kept Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and had all those guys in a quarterback. It's just a bad fit. And this might be the year that they decide if they go 6-11, 7-10. That might be it for Tomlin. As crazy as it sounds,
I seriously, I must.
he's not all in. Aaron Rodgers is not all in. That you
No.
can't be a little pregnant. You can't be half in. He's not all in. And you know as well as I do, once these receivers start running wrong routes, that's when the nonsense is going to occur with Rodgers, and he's going to be very passive aggressive during these post game pressers.
Oh, and Arthur Smith loves to run the football. Like, he's a former guard. That's what he does. And Rodgers is like, I'm going to ad lib out of that and like throw a pass. And then he's going to be frustrated to no end that DK Metcalf can run like 4 routes.
Right. Yeah. So you would think too, get the ball quickly or watch his numbers for player props this year. It's a very good point you bring up. Carolina, I think they're building the culture. I'm not going to say they take that jump like Washington, but I just hearken back to this. You look at Bryce Young, and we can be as critical and opinionated with Bryce Young as we want. But the offensive line failed him his rookie season. He was sacked 62 times. Last year, he was only sacked 29 times. So they're fixing what they need to fix, the decision-making, run the football a little bit, be smart, be judicious with the football. I think Carolina can surprise some teams. I think Carolina can be one of the surprising teams of the NFL. I'm not going to suggest they're going to win a division, and I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to be a playoff team, but I can see them playing much more competitive. And, we're sitting there saying, man, if you're a team, and I don't know, I'll pull up their schedule, say you're the 49ers late in November, or the Rams in November, or Tampa Bay in December, man, I would not want to play this team. They might knock you out of playoff contention.
Yeah, I'm certainly getting a lot higher on Carolina. Like, I could go either way with Bryce Young. My thing is, I really like their head coach, Dave Canellas. I think that there's something that he has about him as a leader. Leaving Tampa, then going into Carolina, having the stones to bench Bryce Young in favor of Andy Dalton, bring him back in. He's a better player. How I look at the Panthers is kind of how I looked at the Arizona Cardinals last year. Like, they got something going. They got something that's interesting. Arizona's kind of my sneaky pick to maybe win the NFC West this year.
My guy. MVP, Murray, stick him in there.
Potentially. Monty Austinfort's a great GM. Jonathan Gannon's a raging dork, but everybody seems to like him in that building. It's the Bidwells and it's Murray, but like, I don't trust the Rams at all. I think the Rams, like, it's about to get pretty bad there pretty soon. But Carolina, I think, man, if it doesn't go well for Atlanta or Tampa, then they'll move up there. It's amazing what happens when you don't have a owner that tampers and messes with everything. But with Carolina, they got to get more defensive personnel. Dan Morgan, former star linebacker for the Panthers and the U back in the day, like every time Carolina is really good, they've got a player at linebacker who's like Hall of Fame level. Like, you've got like a Julius Peppers, Luke Kuechly, the late Kevin Green, late Sam Mills, Thomas Davis. If you have a guy like that, then that's kind of where Carolina's identity comes. But they have the right head coach. It may take another year or so, but they are making strides for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good point on Carolina and their defense, right? You can't rely on what's Clowney, 35, 36,
no.
Right? I mean, you need youth at the linebacker spot. And I think they're going to let Young grow a little bit, grow up a little bit this year. I think you give him a couple more responsibilities. The game slows down more for him. You take some shots down the field. They got to run the football first and foremost. They've got some vets there from wide receivers. I know they got some issues with the tight end spot right now, but I look at this team and I think they can go over their win total. I think they can push Tampa. You mentioned, I think, the Falcons, and I think the Saints are going to struggle mightily. I do want to get your thoughts real quick, just around the NFL. You mentioned Daboll. And, why were they even brought back, him and Joe Shane, right? Because it was only a 1-year contract. So where's the confidence there? I think they screwed themselves by bringing them back, to be quite honest with you. But now I feel because they brought him back and you draft Dart, and I believe he's going to start maybe week 6, 7, or 8, you throw the kid there. Do you believe ownership and John Mara gives them more wiggle room, knowing that, okay, you're going to throw the rookie out there, that's your quarterback, you can work with him? Or if it really implodes and they win 3 or 4 games and the kid looks lost in December and the stands are empty or being overrun by Eagles fans or Cowboys fans, Mara says, that's it. We got to make a change here.
This is what John Mara signed up for. It's like you should have cut ties with both. You should have gotten somebody else to come in here to do this, to draft your quarterback. I mean, Dart's fine. He wasn't my favorite prospect coming out. He'll be okay. Like, he played for Lane Kiffin, a lot of starts there. Like, he could be a Baker Mayfield type of player. There's certain attributes that he has that I like, that I think translate. I mean, then again, Daboll he's got this job because he bucked the Bronco that was Josh Allen of Buffalo and made him into a superstar. So maybe Dart can be that. That's a little bit of,
Well, he thought he can do it with Daniel Jones, right? And
yeah,
apples and oranges.
yeah. Daniel Jones, no.
He's going to listen. He's going to start week 1 for the Colts.
Oh yeah, I mean, the Colts, they have the whole change of ownership with the untimely passing of Jim Irsay. His daughters are going to figure that out. They need to clear house there in Indianapolis. They got to get rid of Chris Ballard, worst GM in football, and they got to get probably a new head coach. It may cost Shane Steichen. I don't think he's a bad coach. I just think that, like, this is just
Bad fit.
I would not want to go to the Colts in any capacity. But
do you believe the Eagles are built to get back to the Super Bowl and win it again, or can you see a team like Washington pushing them in the NFC East?
that's interesting. Like, I'm getting dangerously high on Washington. I think
too.
they've got everything seems to be coming up, with Josh Harris as owner, with Adam Peters as GM, Dan Quinn as head coach, Cliff Kingsbury as an overqualified OC, Jaden Daniels. There's a lot of positive energy going on in Washington that might catch Philadelphia by surprise, but like, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they ended up playing each other again in the NFC Championship game. I don't know if Washington's quite ready to win a Super Bowl, but like, they could get there. I think that that's not out of the realm of possibility. As far as Philly is concerned, like, really anything that happens this year for the Chiefs or Eagles is okay. Like, you've built up enough fan equity. You've won a bunch. Like, yeah, you got the playoffs here, but like, it's good. Like,
you can have a down year is what you're saying.
Like a down year, relatively speaking. Like, you're still going to win like 10 plus games to make the playoff, and it's all good. Like, but repeating is so hard. I don't know if the Eagles are completely built for it, but they could.
You mentioned Daboll on the hot seat. How about a coach or two in the AFC? You looking at Taylor and maybe McDermott?
Yeah, those two are in the same sort of bucket here. Sean McDermott frustrates me so much. It's like, at some point I'm like, you got to get the right. Like, you can't waste Josh Allen's time.
You can't. It's a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, and he's built like Ben Roethlisberger and Cam Newton. He's gonna break down. We all know how that went. But Sean McDermott comes in here as like, oh, I'm the big alpha tough guy, but why is he always shrinking these spots? Buffalo needs to get somebody in there who I don't know, just seems to not like, maybe empowers the offense a little more. He's more defensive minded, just kind of pulls back in these spots. You need a guy who's like, okay, let's draw something up in the dirt like Andy Reid would do. Maybe an offensive mind would be cool. But I've been saying this, between Baltimore and Buffalo, whoever does not get to the Super Bowl this year, it may be both, but like, they're going to have to like seriously take a hard look at the organization, because like
wow. I think Harbaugh has more equity built up than McDermott because Harbaugh's been there before.
He does, but it's like, doesn't the job drive itself at this point? Like,
yeah, you can say that with probably 5 teams in the NFL, 16. Well, because we're going back to the quarterbacking play, right?
Oh yeah, you've got like Lamar Jackson. We know what he's going to do. We hope that he can get to a Super Bowl at some point, just because he's done basically everything else. I think it's a combination of owner and Steve Bisciotti and general manager Eric DeCosta. Like, most teams don't have what the Ravens have top to bottom. Like, they should win more championships than what they're doing.
Yeah, they should, and I can make the case even for Buffalo, right? And I know everyone listening is like, well, hey, hold on, you got to get through Kansas City. Yeah, but Kansas City is not. Come on, man. look what the Eagles did to them in the Super Bowl. That game was not even competitive.
No.
That game was over in a couple plays, and I don't care about the calls early on in that game. The Eagles, that game was over going into the half. I mean, it was just they trounced the Chiefs. They're not the same team. Which, by the way, leads me to this. Speaking of the AFC, I'll give you a sleeper here that I think can win the AFC West, and that's Denver.
Yeah, I'm AFC West is interesting. I think it's still Kansas City's to lose until it happens. But I would say of the other three teams, I like Denver the most. I think that they just have a really good idea of who they are, and I
Yes,
think as long as you can do that, you can win games that other teams won't. When they drafted Bo Nix, I'm like, okay, that's a bit of a reach, but they had a plan for him. Sean Payton empowered him. I knew that he wasn't going to bust because he had so many starts at Oregon and Auburn, but like he's outside of Jaden Daniels, he probably had the best rookie year of anybody in
agree.
that class. Yeah, Denver could be really good. I don't know why they got Jahdae Barron at cornerback. They needed a weapon. No, Marion Hampton goes to the rival Chargers. What are you doing?
Point on Denver too. Think about this. You're talking about empowering these quarterbacks and having like these coaches in place. And obviously, Sean Payton did it for years with Drew Brees. Everyone knows that Russell Wilson was not Sean Payton's guy, right? And you go back to Russell Wilson when he was under the Hackett regime, and Hackett elects to take the ball out of his hands, 4th and 3 against Kansas City to open up the season. Sean Payton's not doing that with Bo Nix. Hey, man, 4th and 3, go make a play, and they're doing the same thing in DC with Daniels. Go out and make a play. I think Dayball wants to do that with the Giants, but he doesn't believe he has that quarterback. Two more before I let you get out of here, and definitely appreciate the extended segment. I mentioned this kind of a curveball, but I was talking. We mentioned this. We were talking about the list, and they're so subjective, right? And how Chris Sims just caught the fire of Eagles fans with Jalen Hurts, and I look at top 2, 3, 4, 5. Everything's subjective at the end of the day. So you go out, you're consistent, you're accessible, you're on the field, you're contributing, you're being a pros pro, you're putting up the numbers, you're winning games, you're going to the playoffs, you're an MVP in the Super Bowl. To me, that's a franchise quarterback. Like that is the definition of a top 5 quarterback. So I ask you, I know it's bar talk, but where do you look at? Where do you put Jalen Hurts? What's the outside perception out of our backyard nationally? People looking at Jalen Hurts.
He is the number 5 quarterback in the NFL, and I think that's perfectly. He's forced his way into that conversation. And you could probably move around the top 4 in any order you want. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and I like Joe Burrow. I think that those guys all have there's just unique qualities about every single one of them. Where like they're going to win wherever they are, and I think Hurts, has had that. He's one of the most likable players. Like everybody in college football loves him, and even though he's with the Eagles and that's a divisive fan base, people tend to root for the guy. I think he just has a very good emotional intelligence that I think has him on a Hall of Fame trajectory right now. Like he went in there and he ate Carson Wentz's lunch, and I was so happy that happened because he does not have any of that. But you look at essentially Hurts being forcing his way into that category, whereas if you look at like the quarterbacks behind him, you're looking at the Jared Goffs of the
Second
world,
tier. Yep.
CJ Stroud. Trying to think who else would be in that tier as well.
Daniels is going to crack the top 5.
Yeah, Daniels is right there too. I know I was missing somebody else, and then you kind of get further down in the fray. But like winning the Super Bowl, first off, like he lost the Super Bowl, and then he got back, and then
Correct,
he won
which
MVP.
is very hard to do.
I don't think anybody had ever gone back to a Super Bowl after losing since Elway. It's been that long.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's so hard to get back when you lose. Everyone forgets who loses. We only talk about who wins. And then lastly, does Belichick coach more than one season with UNC?
Oh, I hope so. I think it would be just intriguing content. Obviously, the offseason has been so incredibly chaotic. My Fall Star co-host Cody Williams is a massive like UNC guy, so he's living and dying with everything Belichick and Jordan Hudson.
Oh, tell him don't tune in because I think everything's a sham, and I was like I would be shocked if he was on the sidelines.
Yeah, he's not super thrilled about it right now. Makes me happy that the Falcons hired Raheem Morris over Bill Belichick. I think
Sure.
I want to be optimistic. I want to think that like having like a young significant other, you go back to the school that your dad coached at when you were born. There's sentimental value there. And then I don't think you want to be outclassed by Mac Brown. I think you want to give this about 4 or 5 years, maybe try to get UNC to the playoff at some point.
Wow.
We'll see what happens in terms of like, what the ACC becomes and all that. But like, I was seeing some odds out there that UNC had like the seventh best chance to win the ACC. I'm like, that's just throwing your money away. It's like
Yeah,
Clemson,
that's
Clemson,
that's
everybody
that's
else.
that's bet in the back in the day, like the back of the jersey, right?
Yeah,
The name on the jersey or the logo. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. It's going to be interesting. It'll be must watch, just like it was with Colorado and Dion, right? So
yeah. That's. I mean, I'm trying to be positive here because like Dion had a great year last year. It wasn't great the first year
right.
at Boulder.
No, I agree with you on that. All right, my friend, I appreciate it greatly. We're going to get you on during the week, talk college football, NFL, do some picks and plays as well. But everyone can give you a follow. If you want, promote all the pods out you're doing. Go ahead.
Okay, so you can follow me on Twitter or the X at Bueller118. Read all my stuff on fansided.com. I mostly cover the NFL, college football, and the Atlanta Braves, a little bit more national baseball of late. Twice a week, I do a college football national show with my boss and colleague, Cody Williams, called Fall Start. We do this every Monday and Thursday, out of season, in season. We kick it up to 3 shows, maybe 4 sometimes. And then every Wednesday, I do a Atlanta Falcons centric show called the Blog and Dirty Podcast, loosely tied to our fan-sided blog, Blog and Dirty. Most of that's a solo show for me. I bring on other people who have fans of other teams and stuff like that whenever they're playing. But I try to make sense of all the nonsense that comes out of Flowery Branch. It's not easy.
No, but you do an excellent job getting the content out, and it's evergreen, it's original, it's compelling stuff, man. So I'm a big fan of it, and always appreciate you making a couple moments. Yeah, man, let's try to hit another spot next week and start revving up college football and NFL right around the season. Believe it or not, we're going to get in the dog days of summer, right? So we got a lot of football to kind of dive into, but always appreciate it, John. Thank you, pal.
All right. Thank you for having me on, Rich.
All right, you got it. All right, quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. All right, 540. Excellent stuff from John. He's really good. Little I was I was not surprised, but the hot seat with Dayball I thought was, very interesting topic. We're kind of on agreement with Carolina taking that next step. Belichick, 3, 4, 5 years. Wow. Can you imagine Belichick roaming the sidelines, college with UNC? I mean, yeah, you gotta feel for his co-host living and dying by everything going on in UNC with Belichick. I personally, I just don't think it's going to be the right fit. And yeah, we both agree with the Rodgers in Pittsburgh. To me, it makes zero sense. And it's a great point that he brought up with the fact that Pittsburgh wants to run the football. It's a great point because you're taking the ball out of Rodgers' hands. That's not what he wants. That's not what he wants. Yeah, he's very good. He's very good. He's very, very good. Uh, I feel like I just had a soul cleansing of all sports. Well, I mean, this is what we do. We gave you the gamut today. We talked baseball, right? We had a little hockey talk, open up the show talking about the Stanley Cup Finals, NBA Finals, which well rounded. Did we not bring up U.S. Open? Did we not bring up U.S. men's soccer? I mean, this is what you get in 2 hours. This is what you get in 2 hours. Perhaps an extension of the show. We don't know. We're in negotiations and talks with that as well. But that's what we get. And by the way, I feel as though I do have to say this. When anyone comments in on the show, good, bad, and different, that's fine. I don't take it personal. I actually enjoy the trolling, if you will. But I'm going to actually call out, and I don't want to do it, but I feel as though the Bunker Boys again kind of showed their true colors today. They got a little too upset with the Eagles conversation, or what they perceived as maybe a slighting of the Eagles, and here we are, out of the show, out of the chat. Makes no sense. I don't get it. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. Bobby D in South Philly chiming in. Q. Excellent conversation with John. Very good stuff. I'm not buying Belichick for 4 or 5 years, and there's no way I'm going to piss away money on them winning the ACC. I tend to agree. I mean, why would you even want to bet on UNC? I went back and I was looking at the comments. I think Joey B might be dead on with Daniel Jones. I had to, just for the hell of it, I had to pull up his player props, estimate, right? So we're talking passing yards from a betting standpoint. This is what the stimulation or simulation, pardon me. I know you guys are going to go run with that, of these numbers. If he were to start, they still have him right around 219 to 220 yards a game. So that, let's just say 223, that's 3,700 yards that you would project for Nichols to have this season. So just to put it in perspective for you guys, if you want to take a flyer on Nichols, his best season touchdown-wise was his rookie year. Explain this to me. How in the NFL you can't pass for 35 friggin' 100 yards? His highest total was 3,200 yards a couple years ago. And if they're projecting him to pass for 3,700, I don't know. Am I going to take a flyer on that? Am I going to play the under? I'm not playing the over on that. Absolutely not. AJ chimes in. Q. Good breakdown on the NFC South. I'm high on the Panthers as well, but I don't think Tampa is going to be as good as a lot of people suspect they are. I don't think Tampa is going to be a great team, but you don't have to, AJ, in that division. You don't. You can win 9 games, 8 games. Tampa was 10-7 last year. The Falcons were 8-9, and they had a minus 34 in point differential. That division, think about this. Carolina couldn't score. New Orleans couldn't score. The Falcons were hit or miss. Tampa was a team that put up a lot of points. See, if you're going to do anything with Tampa this year, you got to start to look at, team totals, because they're a team that can easily score 30-plus points. They showed you that last season. They can score. They put up 37 against Washington, 33 against Philly, 51 against the Saints, right? 31 against Baltimore, 26 against Atlanta, 24 against Kansas City. They can score. When they were winning, they had that nice little run to close out the season. They went on a tear, 30, 26, 28, 40, 48, 27. They can put up friggin' points. And I don't think there's teams in that division that can slow them down, but I still believe Carolina is going to be better. That's all I'm saying. Scotty H, Oilers are going to take game 5. Q 4-2 Pacers go up 3-1. No. It's all right that you're late to the combo. Don't worry about it. No. I cannot have the Pacers going off. I can't have anyone on the Pacers going off. I can't have. OKC has been favored in every game in these finals. Like, can you just go out tonight? Don't even cover the nut. I don't care if you can't cover the number at 5.5. Win the game. Put pressure on Indiana, please. I don't want to turn around on Monday and come on the air and the Pacers be up 3-1 and then looking to close out this series. Are you kidding me, Scott? That's depressing. That is absolutely depressing. I cannot have it. I can't. After what happened to the Knicks, you're going to project that nonsense on a Friday? That is what the frig. That is a what the frig Friday. The the Antonio Brown story, speaking of what the frig, is utterly just absurd. It's absurd. He's facing a charge of attempted murder with a firearm. And that all stems from that celebrity boxing where, he allegedly got assaulted. I mean, everyone was looking at the video. According to the warrant, witnesses told police officers Brown was the shooter. 2 shell casings were found at the scene. Man identified Brown on surveillance footage also said he has known him since 2022. When asked Friday about the arrest warrant, a spokesperson for the Miami Police Department declined to comment, citing an open investigation, latest string of on and off the field issues. I mean, man, ever since he left football, if you follow him on X with some of the stuff that he tweets out, and he's always actually hashtagging like CTE and then ESPN. Always. He's out there, man. He is absolutely out there. And this is a player that his path, I don't think he's ever been the same since he got hit by Burfict. Vontez Burfict. Remember that hit? I don't think this guy's ever been the same since that moment. But he put up Hall of Fame numbers. This guy was going to the Hall of Fame. He's got over 12,000 receiving yards. I mean, imagine if Antonio Brown would have just kept, his head on right and just focused. Brady was trying to give him another shot. If you remember, going to bat for the guy in Tampa. So he had the cup of coffee with the Patriots. Didn't do much with Tampa, played in 8 games in 7. His career ended in 2021. And, would have been in his mid-30s, early 30s, what have you. If he would have actually played 2019, 2020, 2021, and let's, again, because I crunch the numbers, add in another 2,000 yards. This guy would have over 14,000 yards receiving and close to 100 touchdowns. He would have been a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Yes. Gone, like baby gone. Exactly. Gone. He is gone. He's not just gone. He's gone. Vaya con Dios gone. Yeah. Hasta día. He's gone. He would have been a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Hall of Fame wide receiver. He put up monster numbers. He's 36. Monster numbers. This guy was an all-pro. 4 straight years. Are you kidding me? Jeez. Wasted talent, man. Absolutely. I don't want to say a wasted career, but it's a wasted career. That 2000, you go back, that 2014 Steelers team, they had Roethlisberger, they had Bell, they had Brown, they had Miller, they had Bryant. I mean, you had Le'Veon Bell who rushed for 1,400 yards, and you had a wide receiver who had 1,700 yards receiving. And you had a quarterback that threw basically for 5,000 yards. And you couldn't make a deep run in the playoffs. You got bounced in the wild card by Baltimore. Oh, man. Unbelievable. As Kalojo would say, yeah. As Robert De Niro's character said to Kalojo, the saddest thing in the world is wasted talent. Yep. 2-2 on the hard 4. Let's not get cocky. All right, let me give you the picks. I got to step it up with the picks. Baseball, we've been doing well. Florida, I got screwed last night by the Oilers. Thank you very much. Well, I should say I got screwed by the Panthers. We're going a little outside the box tonight. We're going to play Pirates, even though it's listed even right now. Cubs, I'm going to take Pirates on the money line because I know those odds are going to close differently. NBA Finals, I am a glutton for punishment. OKC eventually has to win a game, right? And also cover the number. I'm going to lay it 6.5 with the Thunder on the road. SGA goes for 39 tonight, and he gets to the line at least 18 times. And then we're going, how about this? This is for Joey B and my man Jovan. We're going with a little WNBA play because the Sky, we took them at 17 and a half. They lost by 18 the other night. We're going with plus 12 and a half. We're going with 13 tonight against the Dream. The Sky are going to keep this game close. They are going to keep this game close. I get it. They're only 2-6. They've dropped 2 in a row. But you know what? They have my girl Reese on the squad. So if you want to play a prop, and if you want to bet that she misses his first shot like those guys on YouTube and X do, have at it because it's hilarious when they bet and then they show the game to start and they want her to shoot a jump shot. I mean, she said the other day she emulates her game around Michael Jordan. That best describes her game. I need her to have a big effort tonight. Have a big effort tonight, please. Give me 10 and 10. Give me 10 and 10. Keep the game close. If you pull off the upset, I'm going to be giddy. But just keep the game. Can you just keep it close? That's it. I mean, 17 and a half, and they lost by 19 the other day. I didn't take them against a Fever because they lost by 26. But prior to that, they won 2 straight after a 4-game slide. So they're gonna cover the number tonight. They are going to cover the number. And in life and in betting, that's all we can ask for. All right, last time out, we'll come out, and then we'll close it up on the other side. All right, couple minutes to play with before we go out of here on a What the Frig Friday. By the way, BYP coming back next week, Back Your Play. So we'll start to do like 10, 15-minute clips and cuts. We pretty much just go rapid fire. We give you the betting lines. We give you the picks. We give the predictions, and away we go. Scott chimes in. I like the SGA 39 call. He needs to go off. He does. Which means, think about this too, Scott. If his ass is on the low block and he scores 39, chances are he's going to go to the line a lot. Now, let me pull up OKC. There's a really good site. If you guys go to Action Network, they give you really good trends, odds, line, any of the movement in real time, the player props as well. So as it stands, so the line actually, and it's starting, I think it's going to settle at 6. I know some books have it at 6.5. The total is 227. Now, if this kid has 39, let's just go by this argument. The Thunder wake up and say they win this game by 16. 229 has pretty much kind of been the norm because the other day it was 223. It was 116, 107. So they combined for 223 points. Sunday was different. The Thunder won by 16, but they scored 120 plus. So point is, if you're looking at the total tonight, if you're looking at the total, 227, he has 39, 40 plus. They're easily scoring 120. They're scoring 120, which means Indiana's if Indiana has any shot, obviously you got to score more than 120, or they keep it within a number, say 115. You're still you're making it close. If you played the under, then you're fine at 227 and a half. But I think this could be a 128, 116 type of game. And I'm more inclined to play the over, which again, 227 and a half. Now you're looking at minus 236 on a money line. If you played it +6 Indiana with the number and the under, now it's 194 on the money line. So it's a little more profitable if you're going to play the Indiana side. I'm not, because I don't want Indiana to win the game. So OKC is at minus 230. They're telling you they're a big time favorite tonight to win outright. Indiana is 190 to pull up the upset. So again, you can get some value there. I'm looking at the player props and I'm trying to find SGA. His prop for tonight, let me see game 4 before we get out of here. Player props. All right, here we go. Halliburton over 27. I don't trust this kid. Clutch, yes, but their bench and Siakam and Neesmith and Turner are giving him production. I don't think he has 27. I don't. So again, I'd be more inclined to play the under. He might have 20, 23, but I'm not seeing 27 points. If he scores 30 plus, that means that they were behind and they needed him to win the game. That's the way I look at it. All right, here you go. Wow. SGA under 47 and a half points. Okay, plus rebounds, plus assist, minus 120. He's going under the total in all 3 games of the finals. He was held to 24, 8 rebounds, 4 assists for a 36 PRA total in game 3. I think tonight is the night that he goes off. And the narrative, the reason I brought up the free throws, because the narrative, if you listen to Doris Burke, right, the free throw merchant, the narrative is he gets so many friendly calls, which impacts his ability or lack thereof to get to the line, right? So if he's getting a lot of these calls, he's getting to the line. But last game, he didn't get any. I think that changes tonight. I think the narrative, I think you watch some of these whistles early on. If this kid has gone to the line 5 times in the first quarter, 6 times in the first quarter, then he's trending towards 39 plus and at least 15 to 18 times in the line. And they need that tonight. They need that. So 47 and a half at minus 120. Some apps, the number's lower at 46. So if you're saying, okay, he's going to get 39 points, 6 rebounds is 45, and 3 assists is 48. So now you've hit over that number. I think DraftKings is giving like 300 in bonus bets, first 5. Using the promo code, you can play that as well. So the numbers, free throw attempts, and they've gone down noticeably. But that's a play I'm looking at. And also, I saw one for a couple, I think Miles Turner, I think 1.5 3-pointers. 1.5 3-pointers. He hit one the other night. Not over 27 triple doubles, maybe, but not 27. Yeah, you're talking what? You mean the total number? You're talking the total number. You're talking 39. Give me a little clarification before we get out of here, Scotty. Not over 27 triple doubles. Are you talking triples or? I mean, you're looking at with the number that I gave you, that RPA. So that's with points, rebounds, and assists. Points, rebounds, and assists. So, really, what are we doing here? Lance Stroll. Now we're going NASCAR. That's how we're going to close the show. I can't do it. I can't. What race? What are you talking about? Polls and grabbing what? What are you doing de facto? What are we doing here? What's he racing in? What's that? Canadian sports? You trying to stump me with Canadian sports? Is that what you're trying to do? I mean, is that what we're doing? Is that the Circuit de Barcelona? Is that where we're going? You guys try to stump. It doesn't work. You can't stump me, de facto. You can't do it. You don't like Doris Burke? Come on, that's not nice. Stop it, man. See, you can't close the show on a negative comment like that. We're talking polls, we're talking races, we're talking, triple doubles, we're talking Lips and Doris Burke. You can't. That's all right. There we see that. Now we're back in the saddle. Halliburton, correct. Yeah, I don't see Halliburton going over 27. Next thing you know, de facto will mention the Bavarian pretzel cutting contest. Is that on ESPN The Ocho? Really? Wow. Are those those are pretty much they what do they do? You can freeze them, right? Or they're frozen, then you stick them right in the oven, right? There you go, de facto. Yes. For all the fathers out there, have a wonderful, wonderful Father's Day, and enjoy it. And if you have sons, hopefully they take you out. If your father's not around, if have a little drink for him in honor of him. But there you go. You guys have a wonderful Father's Day. How about this, by the way? How about this? How about this? How about this? The doors were not open for the golf talk. I mean, you're talking with Grand Le Mans here. How about this? By the way, guess who turns 2 tomorrow? A special day planned. That's right. Little Kiki turning 2 already. I got the day planned out. It will be a very, very busy day. We're talking PetSmart. We're talking a long drive. We're talking ice cream. We're talking treats. We're talking sunsets, sunrises, a little beach time. Little Kiki turns 2 tomorrow. And if you notice, she hasn't really been barking a lot while I've been on the air. Because now all of a sudden what we do is we get that food, 4:30-ish, 5. We calm her down a little bit. We'll get the walk at 6 o'clock, but 2 for the little Kiki, my little baby, tomorrow. Time flies by. This is what degenerates gamble on at 4:47 a.m. The pretzel or the Le Mans? Okay, here you go. They cut the pretzel and see if they can get each side to weigh the same. Really? Wow. So you're talking they line up the pretzels. Are like, do chefs do this or just like regular participants? And they cut them and then they measure the weight or the size. They want to make sure it's the same. That's a competition. Or they cut them, put them in the bag, put them in the freezer. You get them in the grocery store, aisle 6. All the good stuff's in aisle 6. Past the Entenmann's aisle. You take them home. You have a little hot toddy, a little smoke and joke, probably like Joey does in Colorado, probably doing it right now, and you shove the pretzels in there. Is that where we're going with this? Soft pretzel. Not a bad idea, man. A little soft pretzel with a little mustard on top of it. How about that? I can see de facto betting on those types of races. I can. The Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. That was last week. Lance Stroll. Let me Google this dude. Canadian race driver who competes in Formula One for Aston Martin. Interesting. By the way, breaking news. We have breaking news. I'm not going to give you a sounder, but we have breaking news. They are making Spaceballs too. It is confirmed. It is confirmed. I'm just throwing it out there. Spaceballs 2. It's out there. Rick Moranis, Paxton, Pullman. I always confuse the two. Princess Vespa. Here we go. Lord Helmet. It's coming back. Now, some will say you don't mess with the classics. I'm willing to give this one a shot. I know Coming to America 2 and White Man Can't Jump 2. I know you don't mess with the classics. If they ever touch Trading Places, no, we're done. We're not doing it. But we're going to give it a shot. And I have 2 shows for you to watch because I haven't given you some good shows. But there's one called Karma on Netflix. It's pretty graphic. I'm just like, it's pretty disturbing. But I thought it was very entertaining. It's, if you like K-dramas and thrillers, I would throw that out there. And Bet, which I told my friend about. Bet That's another one on Netflix. I'm just giving you a little, and you don't want to watch these on Father's Day with the kids. You just want to watch them in another time. All right. Appreciate you guys commenting. At always, the man didn't even give us a joke of the day. That's very, very unlikely. Angel's going to be disappointed. Next week, Lloyd Vance, Nick Costco, John's going to jump back on, John Bueller, John Marshall, Steve Gardner on baseball, working out a couple other segments as well. You got the Qfecta up there powered from our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, promo code BYP20, and check the show notes as well. As I mentioned, BYP back next week. Angel's going to join us as well, back in the saddle with me during the week. If you guys can, also help my guy out, download DSR 102 FM app and follow those guys along. And also check out Triax57 online, as we're always powered with them. Good stuff on a Friday. You guys are unbelievable. You're amazing. You guys make me laugh. You keep me engaged and entertained, and I appreciate it greatly. Sticking with me for 2 hours. Good stuff on Facebook, on X, and on the YouTube channel as always. And yes, certainly for all the fathers out there, have a wonderful Father's Day on Sunday. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Be safe, be sound, have a good sports weekend. We will talk to you on Monday at 4 o'clock with a Lunes Manolo Mentiroso Man Up Monday edition of Middays with Q. Until then, hasta luego, buen día.